So today, you're not only here to get information, this is an exchange of information, okay? This is a learning experience for everybody who's in the room, but we do not want the conversation to end here. Take this home to your friends' friends, and their friends, all right? I'm Sharol Caw. I'm the Black Resource Center librarian here at AC Bilbrew and for LA County Library. And the ladies are going to introduce themselves and tell you about their expertise, all right? And any questions you have, please save them until we do the Q&A at the end. Sound great? Yeah. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you so much for coming today for the Black Mommas, Birth Workers, and Black Maternal Health event and panel community discussion today. It's extremely important, this topic, and I have some really incredible women today that I'm really excited to share with you all, because not only are they on the front lines doing this every single day, but they dedicated their lives and everything that they are about for this cause. So today you guys are in for a treat because we have a very diverse background here, and the way that they are in the community is very similar but very diverse as well. So I'm very excited today. Thank you for sharing your time, and thank you for being here, thank you for doing the work, and thank you for who you are. So we are going to start by acknowledging our ancestors who came before us, the mothers, the fathers, the children who have been impacted by this heavy topic we're going to be talking about today. Not only are we going to be talking about the problems, but we're also going to be getting into solution, into the victories, the joys of motherhood and birth work, and the history of it. And also, we are sharing resources on all of the Black mamas that are in your families or in your lives, so that they can learn something and take something from our conversation today as well. So I hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoy what we do. Thank you.
I am Misty Powell, and we will go through our introductions. But to give it to you before I start the libation, I am the founder of Holistic Healing Arts, where we hold space for humanity to heal. And that's mind, body, spirit, and soul, while serving the world at my highest octave of enlightened consciousness. And so when it comes to libation, libation is a tradition that has been passed down from our ancestors in West Africa. And different cultures practice libation. We use things like water, ghee, and rice. But today we'll be pouring water into the soil. Libation shows up in so many different ways, and so I really like to demystify it. When a woman's water breaks, that's a libation unto the earth. That new life is ready to be born. When we are in our shower, that's a libation of cleansing. When we are drinking water, that's an internal libation. The world is made up of 76% water. Our bodies is made up of 76% water. So it's only right that we honor the aspect of this element. It's a very sacred element, and without the water, there is no life. And so our ancestors knew this, and so they paid homage by pouring the water onto the earth, because they understand that the water is co-creating with humankind. And so, without further ado, it is also tradition that we ask the ancestors, that we ask the elders in the room, thank you, ancestors are already present, that we ask the elders in the room for permission to begin this libation. So do I have your permission, elders in the room, to start this libation?
Yes, you do.
When we pour the libation onto the soil, we like to say Ashe. And Ashe is like that period of power. It is the activation of what it is that we are calling in. Ashe? Ashe. Ashe. So we pour libation to our ancestors, those that have come before us, those that continue to pave the way, those that have paved the road so that we can rise from the ashes like a phoenix. We pour libation to those ancestors that continue to walk with us here on planet Earth, the seen and the unseen. We pour libation to these ancestors who we know well. Ashe. Ashe. We pour libations to the elements. These elements live inside of us and externally. Spirit, ether, earth, air, fire, water. We pour libation to these elements. Ashe. Ashe. We pour libation to the intelligence of the mycelium that lives beneath the earth. And we see this playing out right now. As we are co-creating, we are connecting. The mycelium, the intelligence of planet Earth does the same. It makes sure that everything is sustained. So we pour libation to the creepy crawlers, the fishes, the four-legged, the two-legged. We pour libations, Ashe. We pour libations to the four directions: north, south, east, and west. Whatever road we travel, our ancestors are sure to follow. Ashe. Ashe. And lastly, we pour libations to the original womb and the children that comes from its womb. We pour libations to them. May the children live and be protected. May they raise courageously. May they know their history. May they be courageous, smart, funny, witty, all the beautiful things that humans possess. We pour libations to our children of the original womb. Ashe. Ashe. Without further ado, if you would like to call your ancestors into the space, if you would like to pay homage, this is a collective libation. Please do so at this time.
Thank you so much, Misty.
Thank you for that knowledge.
Yes, thank you. That was beautiful, powerful. So I want to acknowledge the land, the tongue, the land that we are on. The land that belongs to them, not just us. And I also want to acknowledge the Black people who built this land as well. And so I would like to read something that Tam sent to me. I think it's very important to acknowledge. As we begin, it's essential to recognize and honor the laborers who contribute contributions to this land have often been erased or overlooked, particularly Black African Americans. The forced labor that enslaved the Black people, as well as the ongoing impacts of systemic oppression, have deeply shaped this land and the nation we live in. Today we remember the sacrifices, the resilience, and the enduring struggle for justice and equality. In this space, we also honor our ancestors whose love, guidance, and wisdom have continued to lead us. Their sacrifices and strength sustain us as we walk in the long tradition of the Black freedom struggle, which has always been rooted in liberation, dignity, and the relentless pursuit of justice. And acknowledging the indigenous stewards of this land, the Black laborers who shaped it, and the ancestors who continue to guide us, we honor the resilience and resistance that brings us to this moment. Let us hold this space with gratitude, humility, and responsibility as we engage in the critical work of reproductive justice and dismantling systems of oppression together. So this is community work. This isn't just about mamas, it's not just about the children. We're including fathers, we're including uncles, we are including sons. What I love about birth work is that it's a family thing. So, without further ado, let me introduce these ladies because these are incredible women, and I want you guys to I can't wait for you to hear them. But I first want to introduce Ms. Melinda Lewis, who is Director of Justice and Maternal Health at Positive Results Center, who was just on the news, by the way. Her incredible mother is founder, and she was on Jennifer Hudson talking about the work that they do. So they're really making huge impact in the community, and they have an event coming up this weekend, the Prom Dress and Tux giveaway. So if you guys know anybody in the community who needs a prom dress, tux, look for the Positive Results Center. So Melinda is also a mama. She is a woman healer, and she is a sacred creator space for women. I'm happy to have you. Thank you. This next beautiful woman is Misty Powell. As you guys see, she is a creator of ceremony, of space. She bends time so that we can all co-create together. She is a dancer. She is a doula. She is a psychologist. She is a womb healer as well. She has a beautiful line of rose, essential oil, sprays, and all of the wonderful things that she has created with her hands to help you come even more into the dimension of love, which is rose. So, check her out. Thank you for being here. This next beautiful woman is Tamara, and she is a mama of 5. That right there is just period. That's all you need to see. She is, I want to make sure I get this right. She is co-owner and health equity director of Mind Body Birth LA, which is one of the only Black-owned birthing centers in LA. I got the pleasure of being able to visit there, and it's a beautiful space. It's gorgeous. And they're doing incredible work. They offer scholarships. They offer assistance. This is a top-notch birthing center. So when you or your loved ones are going there, just know that you're going to get incredible work, and it's in a beautiful space. So birthing center is such a beautiful option than hospitals. And so thank you for being here and representing that and everything that you do. Thank you, sis. My name is Felicia Burkley, and I am founder and CEO of Spirit Fruit Root. I'm an acupuncturist and mama, new mama. My baby is only 2, so I feel like I have so much to learn. But this journey has brought me here knowing that there's a lot that needs to be done in this field. So this is why we are here. Thank you for being here, and we're gonna start off by knowing just a little bit about what brought these women into this work, because I think that's what's important. Getting to the root of it. Why are you here? Why do you do what you do? So the first question, can you share a moment that helped you bring your passion for Black maternal health to life? And whoever wants to start.
So how I was introduced into this work is through yoga. I did a training with Yoga for Youth, and it allowed me to go into the schools and teach yoga to the children. And I worked all over LA for about 6 years. And I would always have a co-teacher, and it just kept coming up. They would think that I'm a doula or a birth worker. They're like, are you a doula? I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to be, apparently. And so I was introduced to Hayes, Mama Hayes, okay, you guys know her. And I went through her training, and that introduced me into the certification of birth work. Because with working with children, I was introduced to their moms, and it just became a community. So it wasn't knowledge and wisdom when it comes to being a birth worker and all that it entails. But I would say that how I got into this work is, working in the schools, working with the children, and I learned so much about birth work simply by working with kids first, working with the children first. They taught me how to understand the language of energy, because they speak the language of energy and they can feel it from a mile away. If it ain't right, they not, they will not engage. And so, that's how I started in this work, working with children first, and then I segued into the knowledge and wisdom, which expanded the community of birth workers and doulas.
So I was also working in schools with LAUSD. I worked at a couple of schools in South Central, South LA, and I was put in charge of the Black students at these schools. So, some of these schools had 2,000 kids and 100 Black students there, and so really supporting their social, emotional needs, and like really getting into some of the root traumas. And you work with kids, and then you realize I can only say 6 hours worth of something, you're going home. And so I got really passionate about parent engagement, Black parent engagement, and from there it's like, I don't even want to work with the kids. Like, I need to focus on moms, fathers, and the home life. So that is how I got into motherhood.
I came into this work, I would say I came into it as a young mother. I was active duty, Navy, and I was pregnant with my first child. And in the military, they take you from a deployable status and they put you on a non-deployable status. So I was at a command with all pregnant women. And I was stationed in Virginia. I'm from Cali, I'm from Long Beach, period. And I was stationed in Virginia, and I didn't have my mom, I didn't have my grandma, I didn't have that type of support system. In the Navy, all we had was each other. And the folks who I was surrounded by, going to work with every day, we were all pregnant women and kind of just going through the woes of racism and sexism being in the military. So I feel like my work for Mommas just came naturally through me being a young mom and really needing community and also showing up to support other folks who did not have that type of support system. And I was like 18 years old at the time, so I was a very young mother. And a lot of us were young mothers. So that's where my journey began.
So speaking of support, we know that support isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's so many more things than just what we're told it should look like. It's village. Does she have people around her who actually see her and not just the baby? What does it look like for you to see a mother that's actually supported? What does that look like?
What does it look like to see a mother that's actually supported? It looks like a mother being held by whoever that village is. Maybe it's her partner, maybe it's a mother, a parent, maybe it's just the girlfriends. But she's nourished physically, she's eating the nourishing foods, and like folks are supporting her and asking her.
I believe that when a mother is empowered and informed, that allows for the overflow of the energy of nourishment, when she is held financially in all levels of her pregnancy and her birth, when she is nourished properly through the earth, when her community is holding her intentionally, I truly believe that's when a mother can flourish into the next phase of, being a mother, of feeling that energy, because that's an empowering birth. And we also have to understand that when a mother gives birth, the baby is being born, but she's also being reborn. And so in whatever capacity that her community, her support system can cradle her during that time and that awakening and that rebirth, I feel like that's when a mother can step into the next phase of her journey.
Summarize it.
You know, honestly, I think support just looks different for every mother. Support doesn't look the same. I mean, I've had so many clients and it never looks the same. You know, some folks are in need of housing, some folks are in need of food, some folks are in need of community, right? So I think that it's just really important to recognize that everybody's needs are not the same. And, you know, this type of care really requires like a tailor-made type of service. It's not gonna look the same. I don't even like writing down my package on a piece of paper because it's like, I give like a disclaimer, like this is it, but at the bottom, you know, every package is gonna be tailored to whatever the family needs. Because everybody is different, everybody has different needs. So support looks different depending on the family.
Absolutely. So my next question is, in terms of the morbid aspect of what happens to women, it can be seen in the hospitals. We have a 3 to 4 times likelihood of Black women not surviving childbirth. 3 to 4 times more likely than white women. We have children who are 4 times more likely to die than white children. And these are statistics that we see, but we don't really hear a lot of solutions. I would love to hear what you guys feel are our solutions. What should we be doing? Is it all home births? Is it all birthing centers? Is it more education? Should we have, everybody should have a doula? You know, what do you think that is the best? What have you seen with your clients?
This is the last time I'm gonna just grab the mic. So first, I think it's important to like really explain the difference between maternal morbidity and maternal mortality. Morbidity, maternal morbidity are those diseases that may lead to death but are still very serious. So our preeclampsia, our all of the diabetes, all of these diseases and ailments that we have as birthing folks. And then the maternal mortality is that actual death part, right? And so for me, I think that we need to concentrate on the morbidity. The morbidity as well as the other systemic issues that are harming us. Everything works together, and so the homelessness that I may be experiencing, the domestic violence that I may be experiencing, that's all coming into my body and can affect me. So, what was the question? Make sure I answered it.
The question is, how do you see that we should bring solutions to the morbidity and the mortality? And thank you for correcting that.
Yeah. So I've been reading research and anemia and magnesium deficiencies are 2 things that are all very common with mortality of the folks that are dying. So there's a lot of solutions, but 2 things, like Misty said, to eat from the earth, to be conscious and to nourish ourselves, to eat iron-rich foods, to be aware of what we're eating and be very intentional of using our body, treating our body like a sanctuary for ourselves and for the humans that we are housing.
So we have to address it from an educational standpoint first. I truly believe when there's an issue, you gotta get to the root of it. And so when it comes to medical education, cultural competency is one. We have to really think about how are the doctors, the lawyers being trained in the institutions, because that's how they will address every patient. And so what type of programs are out there to be able to go into these our doctors, our nurses, our medical practitioners about cultural competency, because they're only coming and addressing our mothers and families based off of how they have been trained. And so when we start to address that, there's a higher level of consciousness that begins to happen collectively. Secondly, I truly believe if we want to see change in the Black community, we have to start creating it. So are we really pushing our young people to go into these medical positions? We need to see more Black doctors. We need to see more Black nurses. We need to see more Black medical practitioners within these spaces that are equipped to advocate for us when it comes to the disparities that we are experiencing within the medical industry.
Repeat the question for me again, please.
What do you see as a solution for the morbidity and mortality in the Black community?
Ooh, a solution. It's always community for me. Community is just always just my alpha and my omega. Solutions are, well, first of all, the issue is, our infant and maternal mortality rate it's all rooted in like white supremacy and racial biases, right? So we're just gonna throw that out there, right? This is not by accident. This is intentionally being done. These doctors are being indoctrinated. We have Black folks who are Black care providers who are killing Black women, right? So, yes, we should definitely get at it while they're in medical school, but when a system is not created for us, right, we have to stop this reform. We always how can we work together and let's dismantle it. Yeah, let's tear it down, like burn it all down, you feel me? And bring the power back to the people. Everyone doesn't want to birth in a birthing center. That's just the reality of it. Outside of it being inaccessible to folks in our communities because it is an out-of-pocket cost, not everybody wants to have a baby unmedicated, right? Like some folks, they want to be in a hospital. Some folks want to have cesareans, right? Even with the education and, with the facts, there's always like informed consent, I feel like. And folks have autonomy over their body. Do what you want to do, right? But I want to make sure that you have all the information. I want to make sure you know what you're deciding in these situations. So, I think the solution is to just dismantle the whole, truly, is to dismantle the whole, medical institution, like the system as a whole, right? Like, when you start to get into systems, that's when things really get, harmful for Black folks. This is something I've had to accept as a birth worker. It's like I might not see this manifest in my lifetime, right? When we talk about dismantling this and that, I might not see that in my lifetime, right? But I feel like it's important to continue to do the work and to be transparent about what the issue is. And the issue is racism and white supremacy, right? It's rooted in that. So, power to the people. We got to get back to the people.
Great. What does that look like to you guys? Any ideas on how we can start to do that on a community level?
I believe we're doing it now through doulas, birth workers, advocates. We now have, in LA County Medical Doula Hub for any woman that is giving birth. She has access to a doula, and it's being paid through the Medi-Cal system. And so that's one way that we are tackling it. We're getting out in front of it, and I truly believe that that is a strategy. In order for us, when we make the decisions, to empower ourselves, we have to get out in front of the thing. And I do believe that we are making strides. When it comes to the Momnibus Act, that Momnibus Act has helped a lot of women. And it is reducing it. It's not the end or the all, let's be very clear on that. But we are making strides. Another way is to start positioning ourselves, okay? Knowing our strengths, knowing our weaknesses, contacting our legislators, because a lot of times they are not informed.
And so it's going to take us to start going to these chamber meetings. It's going to take us to start talking to our legislators, letting them know what is happening in our community so they can bring it to the forefront. We don't know what we don't know. And if they don't know what is going on in our community, how can they help? And that is a big piece, the advocacy piece. And it really does start with self. In order for us to be able to advocate on a macro level, we gotta understand how to advocate on a micro level. And when we do that, then we can really start to see real change. These things are not gonna happen overnight. No one said that. But the day you plant the seed is not the day you bear the fruit. So understanding that, get out in front of it. We have the tools, we have access, we have information at our hands. As Black men and women at this point, it is no excuse. I am calling for more advocates within this industry. Inform yourself, educate yourself. Our birth workers, doulas, if you are in this field, continue to do the work, continue to educate yourself, continue to collaborate within your community. If you are a birth worker that is an advocate, okay, continue to make these connections with your legislative team. Connect with your mayor, right?
I don't want to get ahead of the questions, and I don't know if this is going to be part of the conversation, probably is. But I also, so two things I want to say. First is we need our partners, we need our men, we need our fathers and our brothers to champion us. I've been in a hospital bed, I've been really, really sick, I've been not feeling well, and it's hard for me to advocate for myself. It's hard for me to communicate. If I do communicate, I might throw something, I might scream. I don't want to be the Black woman screaming and throwing stuff in the hospital because you get handcuffed. But I need my man there. I need my man there, and I need him to know from the look in my eye, because you're my man, what I need. And also, I have to say that I work with the Positive Results Center. We fight domestic violence, intimate partner violence, sexual assault. And the number one reason for Black mothers, Black pregnant folks in the United States dying, yes, it's the hospital, but it's intimate partner violence. It is violence in general. There are more Black women dying pregnant from violence, from assault, than anything happening in the hospital. There are more Black women pregnant dying from violence than anything happening in the hospital. And that's not a conversation. We're not talking about the violence that we experience in our homes. We're not talking about the violence that our children are experiencing, growing up thinking that it's normal, and then reenacting it. We have to talk about that. We have to get to the violence that we're experiencing inside and as people.
So I just want to say, as y'all can see, like, the solutions are within us. Systems can't give us solutions, right? Like, we as a people have to come together to talk about these solutions and to really get to the, bottom of this madness. Melinda's right, and when she told me that statistic, I was like floored, right? Like, I had never heard that, and she backed it up with research like she does. This is not something we're talking about, right? Like, a lot of my practice is a lot of healing, right? A lot of ancestral and generational healing. We spend a lot of time healing before we could even get to anything else, right? We can't even make the next step until we acknowledge how did we even get here, and what's happening, right? And I think healing is definitely a solution. Of course, I'm anti-system, so I'm not gonna go there again. But I think the power is in the people. I think that if we want solutions, we're gonna have to come together and figure out solutions. Birthing outside of the hospital, yes, it has been proven to be more successful. You have more successful outcomes when you're birthing with a midwife. But again, not everybody wants to birth with a midwife. I'm really big on midwifery and OBGYN collaborative care. just because that's just the reality of it. Like, we know that our folks are going to be in hospitals, right? So it's just like, how can we bring in some of our ancestral and our traditional ways of birthing, right? Y'all gotta recognize midwifery and doula care is like one of the oldest works in the history of mankind, right? So how are we doing it back then? Things have changed, but you know, we here, so what's up? Like, so, you know, we really should get back to like our midwifery and our ancient and our, you know, our traditional practices. And I think that's something that the hospital, you know, they don't really too much do a lot of collaborative care. Although, shout out to MLK. MLK has a beautiful collaborative care model, and outside of their rep, if y'all from LA, y'all know the rep. But they have done a really good job as to with their labor and delivery department, and their maternal care right now is literally like top tier. So tell your people.
I love that. Thank you for bringing up that important point, because we do have a very vast history. Yes, baby. We have a vast history of midwifery in our ancestors. Most of us have in our family lineage where we have been birthing our children at home. And so, to touch on what Misty was saying, education. So many people don't know their options, and so they're rushed into a system that is just a place for us to just go with the flow when it's not built for us, like you said. So we have to talk about interventions that aren't needed, cesareans that aren't needed, Pitocin that actually puts the baby in distress. We need to be having these conversations and having this education, because we're not taught it, and we're not taught it for a purpose and a meaning, because the system that we're in is built on money. They want to get us in, they want to schedule us, they want to make money from our birthing, and it's not always in a system that is actually going to have a proper outcome for us or our children. And one thing that we don't hear a lot about is traumatic birthing scenarios and situations from the mothers when she has an emergency C-section that she didn't want. So I would love to hear your stories on healing, some of your clients, and what that looks like. And how did you usher in this process of healing for the women that you work with and the families, because they're part of it too. So what does healing look like for some of your clients?
You should have given a disclaimer before that, for sure. So my love to the mamas who have experienced this. It looks different for everybody. It does. You know, it's no one solution. I think grief is grief, right? So you really have to leave space to grief your birthing plan. And even with education, even with a doula like me, and as a birth worker, you know what could happen in hospitals, you know what can happen if you take Pitocin, but you're still up against this machine when you get in there, right? So it's a very harmful environment. Even through advocating for yourself, right, they will still make you believe this is what is necessary and this is what needs to be done, period. Right? And I've had folks who, you know, maybe push back a little too much, and now they are risking the child police being called on them, right? Because they don't want to go along with what's happening. So, you know, it happens, and I think that the best thing you could do is just hold space for the mom in whatever that looks like, right? Pull up, cook some food, you might want to play some music, you might want to talk. The mama might not want to do anything. Right? There's no words to give. There's nothing we can do but just give space and let that mama go through what she is going through, because it's very traumatic, and this phase is in grief, right? Like, what do you say when somebody dies? Like, oh, you have my condolences, right? Does that really help, y'all? Like, come on, let's be real. It doesn't. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe a year from now, it's like, oh, you know what, that was so kind, they reached out to me during this time, and blah, 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 blah. But when the mom is in the moment, you really just have to give space, and when the time is right, we center the life that has been brought forth. We give thanks, you know, for mama's life and for baby's life. We give thanks. and we honor the mother. I like to, hold ceremony, and we honor the mother and the sacrifices she made to bring forth this blessed child. But there's no like book to say like, oh, when you have emergency cesarean, this is what. No, absolutely not, right? Because that is just like a total violation of someone's safe space, right? And when mamas get to the point where that's what it is, and that release happens, we don't know what it's gonna look like. Period. We can just be present. Truly.
So if you have a mama that went through a traumatic birthing experience, how do you help her through that?
In this instance, it's very intuitive. What works for one mama is not gonna work for the next. Not only is it intuitive, as a medicine woman, it's spiritual. It is deeply spiritual because again, in that moment, as we are holding that mother in her grief, that is also another birth that is happening. She has to move through the contractions of the emotions, and these are waves, and it never ends. But being intuitive enough as a birth worker, you begin to lean in and feel what is required in that moment. So it may look like just holding space. It may look like you sitting right there at her back and you praying nonstop. It may look like you playing a sound bowl in the kitchen cooking, turning on some lively music, pouring libations on the earth, making her some warm tea, praying to the roots. It's intuitive. I also want to speak on the rights of a mother's healing process when she does give birth and life is continuing. If she is giving birth in the hospital, she has every right to her placenta. I'm gonna put this out here so all Black mothers know what's going on. If you do not have informed information about your placenta, it will be identified as birthing tissue, which you do not own. So I highly recommend that if you are birthing in the hospital, have full autonomy over your anatomy and take your placenta home. Get it encapsulated. For those that are interested in doing research around placenta, AKA birthing tissue, I highly recommend you do that. Because as Black women, we are not in this arena. But when you start looking up these corporations that are housing the birthing tissue, where is it going? And why are they changing it from placenta to birthing tissue? There's a lot of healing nutrients in a mother's placenta. When you think about it, the placenta was giving life to the child. In Africa, they do see this as the other twin, so there's a sacred ceremony that is done when the placenta is birthed. We have to get back to that. Like you were saying, honoring our roots. In Africa, when that placenta is not given a proper ceremony or encapsulated, they believe that the woman may go through some type of discord. What are we dealing with right now here in America? It's spiritual first. It's always spiritual. Any ailments, any disease, any loss is spiritual first. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. So getting back to our traditions, being in community, understanding what our ancestors have done will allow us to heal in a graceful way, in a holy way. No matter what it is that we are going through as mothers and birth workers.
Period. I just want to take a moment to everything that you said some very powerful things there. So, as you speak it, I'm just saying, okay, grandma. Grandma. They here to do the work. Yes, so thank you. Just thank you for everybody so far. I'm really just enjoying this so much. So I thank you all. I hope you all are enjoying this as well. I want to get into some practices that mamas can do when they go into a hospital. Like, before you say that?
I don't think we ever defined what a doula was.
Oh, what is a doula?
I'm sitting here thinking like, I know maybe folks know, but I like the term birth worker because doula is European.
Yes.
So, as a birth worker, we are a non-medical support person. So if y'all hear us talk about doulas, talk about birth workers, just keep in mind that we are a non-medical support person. So all of our work is rooted in emotional, spiritual, and physical support, right? So I like to describe myself as your homegirl who just so happens to know a lot about birth and postpartum, right? So we don't do anything medical. I just want y'all to keep that in mind, okay?
And why is doula important?
Why is a doula important? I feel like it's just eyes in the room. It's someone who you can call on, someone who, not everybody wants to talk to their sister or their mom about like what's going on, right? So I just think it's like a personal person. Somebody who is unbiased, right? I hope you remain unbiased because folks go through what they go through. So it's just an unbiased party that you invited to kind of walk this journey with you. I feel like I'm really resourceful, right? I'm one of those doulas who's very resourceful. And also for advocacy. I talked to a white doula once who was trained by a white org, and she told me that they did not teach advocacy. And I just was floored because 100% of what we do is advocacy work as Black birth workers. So your advocate, your support person, your homegirl, could be your chef, could be your healer, and they are important because they keep us centered, they keep us grounded, and it's a personal relationship. It's very personal, it's very sacred, it's a very sacred relationship. And you don't have to really look outside of your doula for support. A good doula is gonna support you and your family. Gonna support you, gonna support your man, your mama, the aunties, you know what I mean? Everybody, once you have a doula, she's really there. He or she, they have male doulas now. They are there to support the entire family. So just an added layer of protection for Black women, truly.
I love my doula. She was monumental in my experience. Period. Somebody describe who a midwife is. The difference between a doula and a midwife.
So the difference between a doula is non-medical and your midwife is your medical provider. So your midwife is who's gonna catch your baby. Your midwife is who's gonna do all your appointments with you, labs, all the things. Your midwife is the medical provider. In traditional, in traditional midwifery and doula history, birth work history, the birth worker would take over the midwife's practice when she was of retirement age. So she would apprentice and work under the midwife for years, and then they will pass along the practice. This is before we started being policed, okay? Because the white supremacy had to come in, right? But this is before we were policed, and before they criminalized the granny midwives in the South. Practices were handed over to the birth worker working under them. So.
Will you also share the difference between like a midwife with a birth center and a midwife that may work in a hospital?
So a traditional midwife would be out of the hospital, right? It would be a holistic. They do all things holistically, right? To the herbs and all the things. You don't have access to any medicine really if you're birthing out of the hospital. And then the midwife in the hospital are usually like nurse midwives. So they do administer different like pain medicines and like things like that. But if you're out of the hospital, it's just you and the good Lord and your midwife. Yes.
So, what are some practices we can share with our loved ones if they do go into a hospital? Like we said, make sure you get your placenta. There are nutrients that new mamas should get that can help with lowering their potential postpartum depression, baby blues, actually getting the nutrients that they lost while they were in pregnancy. So what are some other things? Delayed cord clamping, things of that nature.
I would recommend laboring at home also. I would, if you have a doula, even without a doula, you can labor at home. You know what I mean? Your partner, whoever is with you, I would recommend laboring at home to cut down that hospital time. Because when you get there, it's cold. They don't want you to eat. As soon as you get there, they're taking like 20 things of blood out of you. I mean, unless that's just where you want to be. But again, it's all choice. But I would recommend staying at home until your contractions were about 5 to 7 minutes apart. So by the time you get there, you know, we already rocking and rolling. We don't have to worry about getting there, and maybe you are not far along and they might want to keep you, and then we risk, you know, being induced, which is higher risk of cesarean, right? And then you're just comfortable at home. You're in your safe space. You can move around, you can shower. As soon as you get to the hospital, they're hooking you up with IVs, and you know, it's just, yeah. So I would recommend laboring at home. And then in the hospital, I would recommend cordless wiring. They say they don't have them, but they usually do. So where you can still move around. And I would recommend bringing snacks, because they say you can't eat. Bring your snacks. Bring your snacks. I would recommend having soups and teas for postpartum. You know, the first meal after you give birth should be something warm. Usually they offer sandwiches in the hospital because that's what they have available. You know, but you know, if you could really get some like broth, teas, something warm that will nourish you. So yeah.
I had a phenomenal doula, and some things that she did to make me comfortable in the hospital. She brought a humidifier. No, not a humidifier.
Diffuser? No,
A
diffuser.
diffuser, and it was like some beautiful aromas going on, like some rosemary, some lavender. She got me she told me to pack a comfortable blanket. She said, girl, just go ahead and get you a real comfortable warm blanket, glad, because it was cold. A heating pad she put behind my back, kept me nice and warm. A Bluetooth stereo so I could listen to some jams, keep me comfy.
Face mask.
A face mask. Oh, she hooked me up, y'all. She hooked me up. She had me
facial.
Okay, Tamara was my doula. Yeah, she was my doula. She loved me real good. And a phone charger, because we're millennials or whatever you're gonna be.
I love it. I too recommend birthing at home. If you are a first-time mom and you are wanting to birth at home, it is best that you do get you a doula or birth worker so that she can help educate you on getting comfortable with your body. Because a lot of times we tend to lean into the medical system because we don't really trust ourselves. And so the more you trust yourself during birth, the more equipped you are and able to handle the birth at home, right? If you are birthing in the hospital, one of the things that I love to do with my mommies is have a birthing plan. And send that birthing plan to your doctor. Go over, insist that you go over the birthing plan with them. And if they are giving you any pushback on that birthing plan, stand firm on the birthing plan. If there are any nurses in the room that you are not energetically aligned with, you have full right to switch out your nurses.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's something that you don't have to do personally. If you have a birth worker, chit chat, tap tap, you're gonna have to replay, sir. Okay, no worries, done. And they're supposed to replace the nurse.
So that's first and foremost, have your birthing plan. Once you are in the hospital, environment is everything. How are you setting the tone? Most of the times when I'm working with moms, we start at home. But of course, we're teaching them to have full autonomy over their anatomy. And so, as a birth worker, I'm there to assist you. But if you feel at any given moment that you want to make that transition over to the hospital, it is your choice. I can give you my recommendation all day long, but you have the final say-so. So if we're segueing over to the hospital, then so be it. We have the birthing plan. Let's set the tone here. Fathers, we have to empower our fathers to show up. I mean, really show up. Be in that soft but warrior energy.
Yes.
To protect your family at all costs by any means necessary. It is so important.
That's right.
That masculine energy does something in the space. And it allows the woman to be able to rest in her vulnerability instead of trying to show up in her power and be vulnerable at the same time. It's a lot on mamas when they're having to do that. And so when a father can show up, an uncle can show up, a brother can show up and have that masculine energy in the space, it changes the whole dynamic. So now don't speak to the mama, speak that we over here. That's my birthday team. And let the mama do what she does. Because at the end of the day, it's the mama show. And the curtains have opened. This is what I tell my mamas, like, it's your show. This is theater time. This is ritual theater. So by all means, have the show, but allow her that. Another thing is safety. Safety is so important if you are birthing in the hospital. Safety in your body, safety in your breath, safety in your blood pressure, safety in the rhythm of your heart. This is where your birthing team comes in because their responsibility is to assure that you have 100% safety around the board.
Yes.
And when you are at ease, then the womb is at ease. Because you don't have to really teach a mom how to birth. Her body is prepared to do that naturally. If she's in the right state of mind, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and she has the right environment, that baby's gonna come with ease and grace, and that's what we really want to assist. And lastly, keep the mama feet warm. The feet are directly connected to the womb, so if the feet are cold, the womb is cold.
Amen. Thank you. So I just want to touch on something that you said about the mama and how important it is to allow her to feel that she has the capability to speak to what she needs. That's something that I learned during my own pregnancy. My doula and my midwife were so monumental in helping me ask for help, receive help, be okay with it. Don't feel like I have to do everything on my own. How many of us during our pregnancies or knowing a mama during her pregnancy was continuing to just try and put everything on her back? And so that's gonna have impact on the child and have impact on the labor. So that educational part, that spiritual part, instead of us trying to place everything on ourselves, being able to sit in that feminine aspect of receiving, asking for help, speaking to our men and our brothers, and that's where I want to go next. How can we bring the men and the brothers and the uncles and the cousins, that masculine energy in our life, how can we educate them on the process of childbirth and support? How can we bring them in?
I think just by inviting them in. Like, a lot of my dads, they want to be there. You feel me? Like, and if there is some pushback during the prenatal phase, it's usually because he feels like he's not invited, or he is feeling like this is not about him. You know what I mean? Like, they have feelings too. So I like to center both mom and dad, honestly. And even if mom and dad got their thing going on, that's still dad. You feel me? I'm unbiased, right? And I constantly, let them both know. Like, I'm here for the both of them. People go through things, people have experiences. But what I have noticed is that dads want to be involved and they don't really know they're in. So you have to invite them in. You invite them into the space. In the birth setting, it could get a little, uncomfortable for them. And it's okay for them to take a break. It's okay to excuse them so they can go to the parking lot or go get some coffee or whatever. I feel like, they also sometimes are feeling like, they have to stay here. I can't go anywhere. I'm gonna be judged if I'm not paying attention to her and I'm on my phone, or if I step away, there's gonna be this issue. And it's like, you kind of have to normalize people doing what they want to do, right? Like it's a lot going on, right? So, and that's another good thing about having a support person. If dad excuses himself for the room for whatever reason, because that's his business, right? And also, he too is welcoming a child into this world. And if mom can get up and walk about this room, she would too, right? Because it's just a lot of energy. So it's kind of being okay for people to show up how they show up and not making them feel a certain kind of way about it. As Black folks, in our true nature, we are lovers. Right? And we it's all rooted in white supremacy, okay? we are, as a people, like, we are excellent fathers and excellent mothers and excellent caregivers, right? So I just automatically assume that he's an amazing dad, and he's going through some things right now, period. I do this all day, every day. From the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, I'm advocating for Black moms, right? This is maybe his first child or his fifth, who knows, right? But this is not a familiar setting for him. So we have to be okay with how they show up, and for sure put out that welcome. We want to welcome them into the space. We want them to know, like, this is your space, right? This is your child being born, just as much as his mom's child being born. My thing is with the mamas. I'll be having to calm the mamas down. Like, the dads want to be there, it be the mamas for me. I'll be having to like, girl, you didn't have to say that, girl. But yeah, it's a high energy environment. So just, holding space for all things to be true and all things to be okay. In a birth, there's no hiding energy. It's not. What's going to come out is going to come out, right? And as a birth worker, I think it's important to keep folks grounded in truth in that space.
When I think of like the education, when I go to my labor classes, when I get any literature, it's only a pregnant woman or a woman postpartum holding a little baby. Where is my man? And don't have me in the picture, have me in the bed. Like, have him holding that. So, just the way that we talk about birth, the way we talk about postpartum and labor, like, we consider men too.
Absolutely. I love that. Representation is so important. Representation is so important. And I'm always like, let's get to the root of the thing. We always see the women, but when are the nonprofit organizations that are geared towards birthing are gonna start having classes for our young men and our fathers-to-be? Because I do feel like if we get them at an adolescent phase, then we're already conditioning, and then there goes the shift of the paradigm. And so if they're getting comfortable with normalizing showing up and being present at 16 years old, because let's be honest, not every Black home has a father present. But every Black mother does have a little Black boy, right? So the point I'm trying to make with that is, let's start getting it in the educational system. Let's start seeing it show up a little bit more in our nonprofit organizations that are having classes, lactation classes for women. Okay, everybody, it's inclusivity. Men and women should be able to be informed about lactation. That's it, I will stay right there.
Let's talk about resilience, hope, joy. Give me a story
Black women have been resilient in healing the womb since our voyage across the waters. Let's start there. When they were underneath the boat giving birth. That's the example of resilience. They're the reason why we are here today. And so we've been doing this. We've been striving. We've been making strides. We see it. We've been seeing it. And I'll leave it right there. That is the pinnacle of resilience.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Like our joy, our resilience, and our what was it? Joy, resilience, and hope is reflective of y'all in the room, right? Of the babies in the room, of the community outside of us. Even though we go through what we go through, Black folks have always been rooted in our faith. And I think that our faith needs to be studied, y'all. Like somebody needs to really study the faith in the soul of Black folks, right? And how, every weapon formed against us, you feel me, has not prospered, and we are reflected of that, right? Like you could look when you walk outside, you can see that. And yes, our maternal mortality rates could be higher, but you gotta think like this is intentional, right? And we are still surviving, right? So the joy is in the work that I do. The joy is in showing up for my mamas. The joy is in the pain, truly. You know what I mean? The same thing that we cry about, we can find joy in. Like, so, this is why I truly continue to do the work, is because the womb, right? The womb that births us all, I feel like that's the same womb that's gonna heal us all. And I feel like in order to get to that, we have to start loving and touching and like intentionally placing hands and like doing this womb work. Yeah, the joy is reflective in our communities, and this is why there's so many forces against us, and we still show up. You feel me? It can be, what was we doing during COVID? Melinda posted a video on her Instagram the other day, and the whole world is shut down, and they on their balconies, music playing, somebody barbecuing. You know what I mean? Like this is COVID. Everybody's locked down, but I feel like even with what's going on, I'm not gonna take this way, but even what's going on in our government as a whole right now, for Black folks, it's like, what? You feel me? Like what y'all tripping for? You know what I mean? Like we've been through this. We continue to go through this. If y'all just listen to the elders and listen to our grandmothers, like, this ain't nothing new for us. It almost feels like a slap in the face when people really are like, they want us to be all righteously raised, and I'm like, are you? We've been going through this, So, the joy is in our life. Like the joy is in our breath. The joy is in our faith, right? And we are resilient, and we didn't ask to be resilient. We are who we are. I am who I am. It's the great I am. So in centering Black mothers in my work, I think it's a constant energy exchange. I've never lost a mama, thank God, and I don't plan to. Period. So that is joy for me.
When I think of joy, I think of my son's smile. I think of my brother's smile, but like when he was 6, I visit his childhood pictures with these smiles, because for some reason Black men get a certain age and they don't smile like that in these pictures. White supremacy.
Yes.
We won't go there. But the joy is in our play, childhood play. I don't want to be this grown woman with the world on my shoulders, with the Black maternal health crisis on my shoulders, with the Black children's education system on my shoulders. I don't want to do that. I don't want to think about my men in prison. I just want to play. I want to play like my kids, and I want my man to play with me, and I want my mama to play with me, and I want all of us in the backyard barefoot, playing, having a good time, even if it's for 5 minutes. Just to remember inside what joy feels like, what goodness feels like.
Yes, love that. So as we close out before our Q&A, I just have one more question. What are some of your favorite resources, including your organizations, that we can direct our mamas to?
Positive Result Center is doing phenomenal work centering Black and Brown families. The Genesis Center centers domestic violence. They have supports with lawyers, with case management. So if there's any mama or father going through intimate partner violence, because men are abused too. Men are abused too, and we love you, Black men. We love you, Black men. That is a resource.
AIM, the Abundant Birth Project, just to name a few. Your community doulas, your community birth workers, they are out there. And lastly, Black mamas. Black mamas. We are the spiritual Arbatas. When you think about it, we are. And we can continue to do this work. We can continue to give birth in safe ways, beautiful, safe ways. You are the source. You are the resource. And when you embody that, the sources, the resources, they opened up to you. You are fully supported. You have all that you need. And when you know that, it all comes to you. So continue to radiate, Black mama.
I think I'm really liking the Abundant Birth Project right now. The Abundant Birth Project is a guaranteed income program for Black mamas in Los Angeles County. So it's a lottery system, but if you get in there early, you know, you have better chances. But basically they pull names a few times a month, and if your name is pulled, then you get a guaranteed, I think like $807 a month for 18 months, no questions asked, right? So you don't have to, you know, tell them what you're doing with your money or anything like that. I'm really loving that resource because just give us money. Why do we have to tell you why we need money? It's so, stop policing everything, right? Like just give me the money and let me do what I do with it. Like mind your business, right? So I love that. I love the whole makeup of that program. I love Movement for Family Power. Movement for Family Power is an organization that is committed to abolishing the child policing system, which is CPS. So they work with a lot of impacted folks. That's one thing we didn't talk about, but a lot of children are being stolen by the hands of CPS, and Movement for Family Power is a movement hub. And then as far as, yeah, like Misty said, like get with your local birth workers and community. Like community is a resource. I really want Black folks to be okay with asking for help when we need help. Like we never know who has what, right? Like, so I know it's easier said than done, but again, I was a young mom, separated from my family unit, so I always ask for help. Yeah, I didn't have a problem asking for help. I will still ask if I need something, because the worst folks could say is no, right? But I want people to kind of like leave the shame that's rooted in white supremacy, leave that, and kind of get into community. And ask community for what you need. You never know who knows what. I mean, I might not have it, but I might know somebody who knows somebody. And that's how we work. That's how we always work. This is how we always have taken care of each other, is by taking care of each other, right? We never needed systems. They came in and pushed systems on us. But ask for help when y'all need help. You know, ask your neighbor. Come to the library. I just found out today, we're at the only Black resource center in the county. Right? And what you said, we got original in the state, right here. And what you said, we have original works from who?
We have original works from W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington. You have works from she's holding up some of the
Period. So you mean to tell me if these people reading these books, they don't have resources? They don't have resources. These are community folks, right? Like get into y'all communities and call me if you need me.
One more thing too, another source is like the source, the earth. The top 2 reasons why women are dying in the hospital from labor, delivery, postpartum is hemorrhage and hypertension. And like it's linked again that all of them, not most of them, have an anemia deficiency and a magnesium deficiency. We need to eat. That's not like, you know, the one reason why Black women are dying in the hospital, but we need to eat better. We need to be friends with our local markets, farmers markets, the local markets. We need to be intentional. That red dye is dying. We dying. You know, leave the hot Cheetos alone. No, but for real. So food.
Because you just sparked my thought. Brothers, how you can show up for mommies is making sure that you are minding your diet. Because you play a very key part in the development of her placenta. You also play a very key part in her diagnosis of preeclampsia. It is your health that is sustaining the seed that you plant. So when you're planting these seeds, make sure that your health is in alignment so that your baby and the mom does not suffer from that. Again, when your health is in line, you assure that there's a strong placenta in her womb. When your health is in balance, you assure that she is not getting preeclampsia. Understand that and go do your research.
I think we need to have a whole other panel just on the spiritual aspect of birth and motherhood. Because there's still so many topics on matrescence and the journey of becoming a mother. There's so many things that we want to touch on. I just want to thank you so much, all of you, for being here. And yes. And also, we have a pamphlet in the back that has a whole list of LA resources for mothers, fathers, and children. Take them, distribute them in your community, make copies of them, and find some more and add them to the list. Because, like Misty said, once you align with that ability to receive and knowing that you have what you need, the resources are going to come in even more. So, I want to open up for questions. Do we need to pass the mic, or do you guys want to?
Cheerleader. I grew up in the Midwest. We shout, you know. A couple of questions. One, as a county resource, what literature can I purchase every year? Because we can purchase books, we can purchase materials. How can we support the movement? And if you have specific titles, can you email them to me so I can make sure that the community has them? And then 2, how can the library be a better partner with you in this journey?
So the first book that comes to mind, specifically on how to eat, is The First 40 Days. And I will email you the author's name. But why I love that book is because it talks about how we can care for the mother in the first 40 days of her postpartum period. And it goes into nutritionally how we can support her in the foods that she can eat, the warming substances to make sure that her body is being replenished and not taken from. And also what we can do for her spiritually, emotionally, and how important and how vital it is for our mothers to rest during that time, if able. Sometimes we're not able. Sometimes the mother has a toddler or has activities that she has to go to. But if we can rest the mother during the first 40 days, that not only is going to set her up for success in the moment, but for the rest of her reproductive years. Because the goal is for us to make sure that we are replenishing this huge monumental moment that she had of carrying a child and then birthing and labor.
Can you define rest? Because everyone doesn't fully understand what healthy rest looks like and is.
Yes, so
especially from a Black perspective.
Absolutely. I love the book because she takes it from a traditional Chinese medicine standpoint. And in their culture, they revere that time. And so for rest, what it looks like for them is 10 days in the bed. You don't move. You are being fed in the bed. You are being everything. You are in the bed, and the community is doing for them. 10 days around the bed. So then mama is kind of able to get up and do small things in the bedroom. And then you are 10 days around the house. And in 40 days, you don't leave the house. You are not out in the environment. You are not eating cold things, raw foods. You are not drinking cold things. And everything that you are drinking and eating and being around is replenishing. So when they say the rest, they mean rest. So yeah. And then also in terms of how the library can support is, I think, doing things like this. Community, being able to bring education and real people, real stories, real experience to people who may not have access to it. So thank you for having us and thank you for hosting.
To piggyback off the last thing, we are calling on more resources financially, more grants so that we can have more panel discussions, more workshops. The city has the funding, and so this is a SOS to those that have the resources to understand that we need more workshops. We need more information to be dispersed to our communities. And with your help, we can do that. So we're calling on the financial assistance. We're calling on the grants and the resources to be able to prolong what we are co-creating together with AC Bilbrew.
Unpoliced, because you know they police a lot of these funds.
A book that I want to add named Lisa Hendrick. I don't know if that's how to pronounce her last name, but she has a book, The Fifth Vital Sign, which doesn't talk about like birth, but it talks about understanding your menstrual cycle. So before we even get to conception, like understanding my fertility, understanding our bodies getting in sync with our bodies, so that we know how to listen. Talk about co-read? Oh, co-read is the one. No, it's the fifth vital sign, but
Okay. And Queen Afua. Queen Afua, woman heal thyself, and sacred woman. When you go through those gateways, you'll understand yourself a lot more on a mental, spiritual, psychological, emotional, ancestral level. So let's get Queen Afua into the libraries.
yes, sir. Yes.
Initially, I came to the library for one reason, and then being the nosy person I am, I peeked in and ran into you. And guess what? I am so pleased that I decided to come back because I have learned so much. And to the young woman on the end who was talking about the doulas, there's also a death doula.
Yes.
I had the opportunity to utilize those services
Yes.
for both my mother and father. But what I wanted to just say is, I'm the father of 4 sons. I have 4 grandsons. My youngest grandson was just born 4 days ago in Hawaii. And I went to Hawaii to witness the birth. I stayed there a week and she didn't have the baby until after I came back here. But anyway, what I'm saying is, listening to you guys, I learned so much. And then it brought me back, she put me on the path of this book. It's a red book talking about how in the 1800s, how when some of our enslaved ancestors were purchased by doctors to black women.
Get on the microphone.
And I don't want to say the name of the book, but I just finished reading it. It took me 2 months because I read 4 pages and I couldn't read no more because it just pissed me off.
Yes.
It just pissed me off about, what's the lady, last name is Locke? Henrietta Locke. Man, when it got to that part, it took me a month just to get through
Healing.
that. You know, but I'm saying all that to just say, I'm glad I came. You guys gave me some more information that I can take to my sons. Since I don't have any daughters, no granddaughters, you know, but it gives me a chance to be informed. I want to thank every single one of you.
Thank you.
You went to Jefferson? I see the East Side boys.
Huh?
I see the, never mind, I'll talk to you later.
No, I did grow up in that area.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I
grew up in that
recognize
area.
the hat.
Wait a minute, I grew up in that area.
I recognize the hat.
That's right.
I know who you are. I know who you are, black man.
I'm repping the East Side till I die.
Insiders.
I know that you didn't necessarily have a question, but again, I am an intuitive birth worker doula. Thank you for pointing out deaf doulas, because doulas are there to assist you in all areas of your life.
Yes.
So maybe you are birthing a business. You can get you a business doula. Okay? Maybe you are going through a loss. There is a deaf doula. So there's a doula for every aspect of your life. I also want to speak to the spirit of you, elder and brother. May your nervous system be well, because I know it all too well about reading information that's just triggering and shakes your whole nervous system up, and you gotta walk back outside in this world, and you still processing it. You processing it in your sleep. You processing it when you eat. That's a whole thing that black people are having to move through, is the regulation of our nervous system. We are charged with the redemption of healing from what our ancestors have went through. So I'm sending you light, I'm sending you healing in this moment, black brother. May your nervous system be balanced and well.
I share.
I share.
I had a question earlier, but it was like during the conversation. It was more so we were talking about trauma. I'm a new mom.
Welcome to the hood.
What's going on here? Keep it live with each room. We were talking about trauma. I realized through my experience, which is amazing, that a lot of my peers don't even know that they are having traumatic births.
Yes.
And so, me falling into reproductive justice work, I feel like it's just me wanting to tell women, like, you have things like choice, or you do not have to do this or that. And so, I guess my question is, how do we continue to empower our sisters to even know, like, what trauma looks like in birth? You don't have to have these C-sections, these emergency C-sections, or, you know, or whatever. So I don't know really how to phrase my question, but it just touched me that a lot of women don't even know that they're having traumatic experiences, or that they're not being treated well, or they're not having informed consent. So it's like, how are we gathering to just to disseminate this information? It's like, it's almost like when you need it, it's too late. You know what I mean? It kind of means like, I think it was Misty's talking about educating our younger kids about this. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird to be talking to a baby about, like, when you get pregnant, do this and that, but it's kind of like, you need this information beforehand. When you're laboring, it's not the time to talk about, you know, stuff you didn't know. You know what I mean?
What age should we start having these conversations? Because I would say even 16 is too late.
It's way too late.
Yeah.
So what age were you all introduced to sex ed?
That's when it should happen, I think.
Well,
I had it at
we started at 10, at age 10.
That's it.
Fourth grade.
Yep, at the age that we are introducing sex ed should be also included in the curriculum, so that it's normalized and it's not some like doozy thing like, no,
But
it's
I think
normal.
now, isn't it taking that? Because I think my
Yes.
daughter, when she did it, she was like, Mom, they just showed us a video, and she was everybody went to sleep.
Yep.
And I was like, did you? And she's like, well, I knew I was coming home, we gonna talk. But like, everybody doesn't have a mom that's gonna talk to them. So what programs can we do? Because I know here at the library, because of liability, we've taken it out. We got the books on the shelf. We talked to you about him, them, she, her, hers, us, they, all of it. But everybody didn't read. So how do we have this conversation? Because I know when I had my daughter, I had to have an emergency cesarean. And I was there by myself. I was a senior in college, away from family, 2 states away. So it's like all of that aligned, but that's too late for you to know what trauma is. But I think also women of color, we've lived in trauma our whole life. So we've always been fighting. We've always been on the defense. We don't know how to operate on the offense. So how do we have a conversation early enough, but to make sure that they're informed and receive it?
I feel like go ahead. You gotta meet people where they are. And where are we? Mostly on social media. You gotta go where the attention is flowing. And so when it comes to technology is expanding at such a rapid rate. When we dive into that arena, they have no choice but to get it because it's gonna take right in front of their face. And so we are calling on those influencers that are in the birth work arena. Like, put it in the areas where we know we are going to, see it. YouTube videos, Instagram, Reels, creation. Like, let's try to figure out where we can meet our viewers.
I was actually gonna say the opposite. Like, I'm an in-person type of gal. My community that I've built has been in person. It's been in your face. It's been connections like this. It's been organic. With my children, obviously they have a birth working mama, so they're exposed to it at a young age. But even when we were at Divine Entwine, which was my shop in Long Beach, we didn't tell mamas to cover up when they were breastfeeding, right? Like, people, you come in, you let you breastfeed in public, right? I don't care who's around. I don't care who's brother, sister, whoever, when you are, I feel like just start the conversation, right? You just start it where you are. Like, if this is something that you're noticing, Marche, talk about it. You know what I mean? And you never know what that's gonna attract, right? Like, when we, some of y'all in the room know me in real life, right? So y'all know a lot of the work that we've done together in community has been through organic relationships. I think that word of mouth is so much more powerful than the frequencies online, period. Right? Now, when we talk to our younger children, we have to talk to them. Right. Talk to them. Have a conversation with them. You know what I mean? When they ask you where babies come from, tell them. Tell them. My children are 7, 8, 15, and 16. And anytime I step out the door to go to a birth and come back, they're up waiting to see how their mama's doing. How was the birth? How did it go? Let me see pictures. Right? Like, and obviously I am a birth worker, but they friends know I'm birth workers, right? They be giving my number to they teachers at school. You know what I mean? So it's just like having conversations where you are. If you see a mama in the grocery store, with a young baby, talk to her. We real good at that. It's community. And I feel like that will spread like wildfire. Right? And then as far as like the young folks, I grew up in a library. Melinda expressed to you, she grew up in this library. Right? So I feel like it's ways we can do some gang stuff up in here, you know what I mean? Like, but it's not gonna come from us. We gotta get to the young people and ask them. We gotta talk to the young people. Period.
I think addressing it from both ends though.
Yeah.
Communally, but we know that entertainment, technology is taking our children's attention, right? And so if we are really wanting to get to, mamas on a global and international level, how do we do that?
See, that's not my ministry. I'm worried about my community. You feel me? Like, I'm for my community, and from there, whatever effects happen outside of that are good. But the healing started within myself. Then I put it in my family. And now through help healing my family, now I'm at the community phase right now. You feel me? If spirit take me further, I'm gonna let y'all know. But right now, I'm right at this is where I'm from, right? Like I was born and raised here. My mom and them was born and raised here, right? Like, so I don't have nowhere to run. Like, this is home for me. So the work that I do here is very intentional with this being mine. And if spirit take me further, I'm with it, right?
I see that. I want to respond.
Okay.
I don't think it starts at talking about birth. I think that we need to be talking about our menstrual cycle. That's why I said that this vital time. It's not normal to have cramps. It's not normal to bleed for a month. it's not normal to, like these things that are so common, and the doctors tell us, oh, it's okay, you want some birth control? They're not normal, it's not healthy, and our body is telling us something, right? And we just are not trained or raised or taught how to listen to our body and what our body is saying. So I do deeply believe that we need to educate our young people, not just our girls, our boys too, on menstrual cycles. So the Positive Results Center has programs specifically targeting that. Coming to Bloom will be in May, and that's to celebrate our young girls who have started their menstrual cycle. We'll educate them on the full cycle. So it's not just bleeding, but like, what is your luteal phase? You know, like, hey, yes, like, hey, like, you don't need to take a plan B, like, you're not ovulating. So, for real. Relax, but like,
You're not pregnant.
we need to know when we're ovulating, and like, you don't learn that till you're 30. So having those conversations, and then like, you know, it's the natural progression is like, is that, and then like menopause, that's a huge deal too, but we don't talk about it. Everything about women's health is like, hid, shut up, be quiet, look cute, you ain't cute no more, go in the back, you can't cook, go outside. You know, so really talking about all of us as women in our reproductive system.
In a safe space.
In a safe space.
It has to be a safe space. People don't respond to black folks. Y'all know I'm talking about black people.
That's right.
Black people, you know, we don't respond when we feel unsafe. You know, it has to be safe. It has to be at the library. It has to be with PRC for our community. You know what I mean? Like it has to be us.
The talented tip, right? Like our doctors, our OBGYNs, our pediatricians, black pediatricians, black doctors telling us, you're not showing up as a doctor, but you're showing up as a gal that lived down the street from me, that went to the same high school as me, that happened to go to Stanford and continue on. And now you're coming back to tell me what you learned, so that like I can tell my friends, and my friends can tell their friends, and that's community.
That's community, baby.